Today I'm going to build a DIY power station, and so I thought I would film it. I'm going to film it real time, no cuts, no edits, no nothing. What you see is what you get, good, bad, or ugly. I have already built my box, and I've already cut out my holes. That's woodworking, so there's no point in even filming that. So I'm just going to show you the steps. We'll see how hard or how easy this is. And you're not going to be able to see everything because I'm not moving the camera. But first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install this MC4 hood. This will allow me to hook up solar panels to it. And I've already drilled the holes in the back here for it. And I'm just going to screw it on. And we'll see how long this takes, so you'll know in real time how long it takes to build one of these. Some of the wiring I've already done because I'm pulling this from old stuff, but pretty much this is going to be how long it takes. You can see how long it takes me to struggle to get a screw out of plastic. And then I'm just going to screw this on. I'll try to tell you everything I'm doing as I do it, because some of the things you can't see. And I'm just screwing this hood onto the back of the wood. Not really that exciting. This is going to be a 12 volt, 200 amp hour DIY power station. We're using a really nice inverter and a homemade battery, which I will explain how all that works as well. Alright, so that's screwed in. The next step is I'm going to mount my charge controller. Those wires will go to this. These wires here go out to the battery, which I've already put in. Those wires that you see here, I'm going to wire to this. This is an MPPT charge controller. It's a cheap one, so it probably really isn't an MPPT, but for our build, it is all I'm going to need. So it's pretty simple. These wires just go in. The gates here, negative to negative. Again, this is real time, so you can see. Because I see these videos all the time, and it's all edited, and it's like, how hard is this really to do, or how easy is it really to do? So now you will know what it's actually like to build. No filler, no fluff, no fancy camera angles. We've got a train going by. You get to hear the train. See, anything I struggle with, you get to see. There we go. Finally got it. So steps that you think would be hard are easy, and steps that you think that would be easy sometimes can be hard, and that's an example of what I'm talking about there. Sticking a wire in a hole, you think would be pretty straightforward. I tug on them to make sure they're in tight. They're in tight, so now I'm going to mount this on the outside. Just using small wood screws. This is 3/4 inch plywood. So I have small wood screws just so the screws don't go through everything. I'm just going to mount it right here. Actually, I have one longer screw already in, and that'll help me get this thing started. You can see how hard or how easy this actually is to do. Screw in there. I got to put these in first because once the battery is in, there won't be room. So these components have to go in first. That's something I've learned the hard way. All right, so that's in. These wires will go to the battery. Next thing I'm going to do is put in the fans because they are hard to put in. I'm going to put in one, the top here, that sucks the air out. And you can see air out. So that one will go here. It'll suck everything out. These I'm using longer screws because it's about an inch thick. So the little wood screws that I used on that charge controller just won't work. So I'm lining it up, and I've already cut the hole for this. It's about a 3-inch hole. The trick with putting these in is you want to put them in gently. You don't want to over mount them where the fans just won't work. And I've put these in several times and I've noticed that every time. So now I just put them in gently. Haven't had any problems since. And I'm a little on the fence about these fans. I like that they have a sensor, which I'll show you in a little bit. But they're kind of crappy on the other hand too. So I don't know if I'm really in love with these or not. Of course it could be that I just don't know what the hell I'm doing. So this one's going to suck air in. So there we go. We got airflow coming in. What I'm saying is that it's the installing of this stuff that is the hardest part. The wiring is actually pretty straightforward. It's just all the weird angles on these boxes that takes up all the time. So you'd think the wiring would be hard, but the wiring is very simple. Just putting all these screws in these awkward positions. That is the hard part. One more screw. And try not to lose the screws. That's the hard part. Being as organized as you can really helps. Alright, so those are mounted. I'll show you the controller and everything later. So the next thing we're going to put in is the inverter. This is a really nice GAN Giandel, I don't know how to pronounce it. It's a really good inverter. I've had it for years. Excellent inverter. I've already put this screw in just so I can mount it, otherwise it's a nightmare to mount. It looks pretty level. I'm just going to have to put one right there too, or I'll never get that in. Tighten these down. I may need to go get an extender. It's not really reaching. Let's see if I need an extender. All right, go get an extender. I'm saying no cuts, no edits. What you see is what you get. It's either going to be the world's greatest video or the world's dullest video. Probably more on the dull side, but hey, that's the way it is. All right, now I can reach it. Screwing this in. Telling you that screwing these things in is just by far the hardest part of this project. I've built a bunch of these now, and it's always the case. Always the case. Well, if you've ever wanted to build a DIY power station and you weren't sure how long it really took to make, you will know at the end of this how long it really takes and what to watch out for. Alright, inverter's mounted. Oh, that's always the fun stuff. So now this is the remote right here. This is going to go in the top here, top hole. This will allow me to turn the remote on. Make sure I'm putting it in right side up. This will allow me to turn the remote on with the case closed. Put a couple of screws on that real quick. I'm just going to put 2 in for now, just so it doesn't flop around. That'll hold that. So that comes with the inverter. But next thing I need to put in is this, and this will allow me to plug things in. And this I had to buy separate. I think it was about 20 bucks. sure it's snug, like a bug in a rug. We'll screw that in. Right, so we got some bus bars put in, but I've got to put them in after I put in the battery. So now I'm going to go grab the battery and slide the battery in real quick. Actually, I'm going to pull up this. It's going to be easier to put the battery in with that stuff out of the way. See, this is real time. Got to make adjustments. So I'm going to go grab my homemade battery. Alright. So this is a 12 volt, 100 amp hour homemade battery that I made. It's got Bluetooth on it. It's really cool battery. And I think I'm going to push it against this. I'll probably glue that or secure that later. So now we can, let's plug this stuff back in. So these are a lot of fun to make. Of course, nowadays it's actually not much cheaper than just buying a EcoFlow or something, but at least this one you can customize. And I already have everything, so it didn't really cost me anything because all the components are mine. So next I'm going to put a bus bar in. This is going to be the negative bus bar. This is the negative wire coming out of the battery. So I'm going to attach that to the negative bus bar. This is a 100 amp bus bar. You got to make sure your bus bar and your components and everything are sized properly. I'm putting this on first so I know where to put it. Tighten it down just a hair. That's not the right one. So I get to go get, oh no, they hit there. Hoping I had all my sockets with me. So this is why people edit these things, because they're not hard to do, but they're kind of a little boring to watch in real time. But I thought, since I'm building this, I'll do it in real time, just so people can know how long it actually takes to build one. I think I'm going to put this right here. Just mount this bus bar. So, bus bar is getting mounted. I've got a second bus bar for the positive too. This is all negative. So when I'm done with this, I'll run this a wire from here to my inverter. So I've got safety goggles on, because you know, this battery's got a lot of energy, so if I touch something incorrectly, it could cause a problem. So you always want to be safe. Some people even put on gloves, which is probably a good idea. You see, I don't like that because that's going to turn on that. Come up from the bottom. So I'm actually going to do this a different way. I'm going to do the other way. And bring it up from the bottom. So that's what I'm saying. You can see the good, the bad, and the ugly. Unfiltered. Live. Should have live streamed this. That would have been fun too. So you can see, again, it's the little things that take up all of the time. It's the little components, turning the wires, screwing stuff in. That's what takes up all the time. And building one of these, because the concept's pretty straightforward. The concept is not very difficult at all. It's just a matter of all the little details. All the little fussy things. It's kind of like a Bob Ross of solar. Oh, I'm so funny. Hopefully this doesn't turn into the electro boom of solar. If I short something out, that could be interesting as well. So now I've got the bus bar connected to the battery and to the inverter, and the screws are slightly different, of course, so I need to have two different ratchets. So those are tight. They're not really tight, but they're snug. So now I have this on the bus bar where I can hook up all my little things. Oh, I just made a mistake that I got to correct. Made another mistake. So I have a meter, a monitor I should say, and that will monitor all the juice. It's a Hall effect, and it actually needs to go, the wire actually has to go through it, so I get to take that back off. So you get to watch this fun, exciting part twice. So I'm going to do the other wire. Those two wires are not going to go through it, so I'm going to do the single wire. I don't know how I got a different bolt on this bus bar, but I'm not going to go looking for different bolt while I'm in the middle of this. So it is what it is. So this is coming off for a second. I'm going to slide this Hall effect sensor over it, through it. We'll wire that up in a second, but that's how we're going to sense what's going through the system. And I want that snug enough so it's not going to come back off. And then I'm going to wire this up. This will go to the positive bus bar. This is just going to go right to this negative bus bar, so we can just put it right here. It's just going to go right here. I'm going to temporarily put this nut back on because there's more stuff coming, but I don't want that falling off. And we will mount this. Hopefully it reaches. It's gonna be close. Will it reach? Will it reach? Did I design this right? Will it reach? It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. It's gonna be close. Yes, it reaches. I was a little nervous about that, to be honest with you. Okay, so now those fans need to be plugged in, and this is how we're going to do that. So this is a sensor that runs the fans. If it's 89 degrees or warmer in this box, the fans will turn on, and if it's not, then the fans don't run. You can program this, and I have a video on how to use this. It's pretty cool, but again, it's touch and go because I've had a few of these fail, but it may be because I'm kind of an idiot. I don't rule that out. So that's why I don't want to talk smack about the company, because it's possible that I just don't know what I'm doing, because you know, I might not know what I'm doing. So you plug them in, and then we're going to hook up this to the bus bar. Run these things down, run it up. To the bus bar. Temporarily put that on. Now the last thing we're going to hook up, which is not going to reach, is the charge controller. Well, mistake number one. This wire does not reach. I get to go cut another wire. Get to extend this video. Possible one of these will reach. I think one of these will reach, so I just have to slice this and take that old one out, which is going to be kind of a pain in the butt now, because that's why I put those wires in first, because they're hard to get out. So we're going to have to scoot everything over a little bit. Let's see if we can get in here. Take this wire out. And put in a different one. Alright, wire came out easily. Now let's see if we can put the new one in easily. Maybe we can get lucky here. If not, I gotta take everything apart and redo it, which will not be fun. Saying, doing this thing live without a net, as they say, is dangerous, because you never know what you're going to forget, or what's going to go wrong. Alright, that went relatively easily. Tighten that guy down. We may be back in business. Alright, that's snug. So now I can run this wire over to that bus bar, and this will be the last negative I hook up. So I have my charge controller, my monitor, my fans, and of course my inverter all hooked up. And now can finalize this. and we can do the positive. And I'll come back through and tighten down all the components. I just want these tight enough that they're not going to wiggle. And where is that one? Oh, same size. What I'm saying, everybody, is you're seeing this with all the warts and everything. No filtering. All the mistakes, all the issues, everything there, live. For the world to see. Okay, that one's in pretty snug. I'm actually going to snug these down while I'm here. I got some thread lock that I'm going to put on when I'm done with all of the nuts. But those are on pretty tight now. This one, of course, is different. No big deal. All right, so next up, we're going to put in the battery switch. Just falling on the ground. Got a little nervous there for a second. So I'll show you this. So this is a battery switch. I bought this on Amazon, but there are cheap versions of this online. Don't buy the cheap ones. Get the good one. And the good one, you know, because it'll have big, thick M8 bolts on the back and a lot of copper. So there are cheap versions of these. Do not get them. So this is going to go in this hole here. I'll screw that in. That's what I'm saying, you know, you're seeing this live. So I got to pound this in a little bit because it's snug, which is what I want. I don't want this thing to be loose. This box is not going to be weather tight, but I want it to look as good as it possibly can for homemade. And this I'm actually going to need longer screws to put in, so I'm going to go grab those. But believe me, I thought about editing all of this, but my goal was to show it real time. Good, bad, and ugly. So that's what we're going to get. Good, bad, and ugly. You see all the things I forgot, all the things I did wrong, all the things I had to redo. But this is the last one I've got to screw on. The tripod is in the way. I don't like using impact when I put in plastic because this thing can over torque and break the plastic, but the tripod's in the way, so I don't have any choice. But this battery switch will let me disconnect the entire system. So what's going to happen is the battery is going to be on one side, and then on the other side is going to be all the other components. Now I have a fuse on it as well. See this little terminal fuse? And the fuse is a 125 amp fuse because you want to make sure that your fuse matches your system. So 125 is all I need on this. Now if I can find a wire, hopefully I have a wire that fits. Do this real time. This end is 3/8 because it's a big M8, which is basically 3/8. So one side is big, and then this is a smaller 5/16. So the wire's got to have a large on one end and a smaller on the other end. You get to see another train. It's a noisy area here. Alright, so we're going to wire this. What I want to do is move this guy. Gotta love that train. Now the battery is attached to the battery switch. I'm gonna tighten it all back down. Hopefully you can hear me over the train. Battery is attached to the switch. Tighten this a little bit more. Alright, I'm going to turn the switch off. Oh, it is off as we attach everything else. So now the next thing is we're going to put in the bus bar for the positive. Same 100 amp bus bar. And we'll see where everything falls. So the criteria I have is this guy is not very long, so I'm going to have to put the bus bar where this will reach. So that is my biggest criteria. I'm hoping it'll reach over here, which it looks like it will. So you can see the wiring is not very difficult. It's all the fussing and the screwing and the awkward angles and everything. That is what takes all the time. And I'm going to mount this guy. I've already got everything else in, so I'll mount this bus bar here. I'm going to have to pre-drill that. There's no way I'm going to be able to get that in. Now I would go get a bit to pre-drill this, but I don't want to pause yet again. So I'm just going to pre-drill the old-fashioned way with the screw, and I pre-drill a little bit more. Just got to over a little bit more. And that line's in, so now I can screw this in. Again, I like to use my regular driver because I don't want to overdrive and break that plastic. And I've done that a ton, where I've overdriven it and snapped it, especially the circuit breakers. And if you notice, I'm not using circuit breakers on any of this, and you can add circuit breakers, of course, if you want. Get these goggles off. I can't even see what's going on there. So you can add circuit breakers on everything. I am not putting circuit breakers on mine. On mine I'm just using a fuse, but if you add circuit breakers, will make it, of course, safer and let you turn off components if you want to turn off components. So this is just the way I'm doing it. Not the way you have to do it. There's a million ways you can do it. Alright, this sensor, this little guy, this is what senses the heat, so that's why I wanted it close to the inverter, because the inverter is what's going to get the hottest. I'll mess with that in a little bit. So now we're going to attach the charge controller. Now I have no solar panels hooked up to this, and I say that because you always want to do your solar panels last. You want to make sure your battery and all the components are in first before you hook up solar panels. But I don't have any solar panels, so I can wire this up. Plus my switch is off, so there's no worry of that. But if you turn on your solar panels and you have your charge controller off, I'm sorry, if you turn on your charge controller and your solar panels and your battery is well, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Never mind. I'm trying to do this and trying to talk at the same time, and I'm not making any sense. See, that's something I would cut out of the video. I'm just babbling at this point. Let's put these in. Okay, so now the sensor. Oh, is the sensor going to reach? Oh, the sensor's not going to reach. Alright, sensor's not going to reach, so I'm going to have to do something cheeky, which I don't recommend doing. But I'm going to hook up the sensor to my inverter. I don't like doing that, but it's just too far over. My wire's not going to reach, so you know, I'm just doing this for me and showing you potential issues. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run a wire from the inverter to this bus bar. Actually, I'm not going to do that. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this, because this wire is actually bigger. This wire is going to go from the switch to the bus bar because it's got a bigger end here, and then we'll run a wire from the bus bar to the inverter, and that'll also have the switch. So I want this to come underneath. You gotta be real careful when you're doing this stuff, because this battery is live. I do that all the time. I lose stuff. So this is going to the battery switch. And then this will run to Oh, just not quite long enough. All right, we get to try that again. I'll say it again. I'm doing this real time. You're seeing all of the issues as they unfold. Good, bad, and ugly. I don't want to let go of this wire, because even though the battery switch is not turned on, I don't want anything shorting out. But I'm struggling to get the wire off the battery switch post. And again, it's the stupid things that you get stuck on. See that? Just insane. Sometimes things just stick. All right, we're going to try this wire. Hopefully this wire is long enough. Just replacing that wire. Putting the bolt back on, or the nut back on. Now we can run. There we go. Problem averted. Now this will just go to the bus bar, and then we'll do our last wire to the inverter. Then we can see if this thing actually works. See if it blows up. Now one thing I'm not going to be able to test is the fans, because it's cool out here. So there's no way the fans are going to come on, because it's not 89 degrees out here. I need to stretch the imagination. It might be 40 degrees out here. But see, it's just getting all these angles, getting the bolt screwed on. That's what takes forever. Okay, so now we'll see if we can get lucky, and if this will reach our bus bar. If not, we'll have to go get another wire. And we've got to put in this guy, which I don't recommend doing this. This should go on the bus bar, but I made a mistake and it won't reach. So we got to make an adjustment. And I don't want anything touching the battery directly. Like I could put this on the battery directly, but I want when that battery switch is off, everything is off. So that's why I'm not putting it on the battery. But in the perfect world, it would be on that bus bar. But sometimes things just don't go the way you wanted them to go. And this is the last wire we get to hook up. I'll come back through and I'll put Loctite on all of these, and I'll make sure they're all tightened down. Right now I'm just trying to get everything attached so we can see if this thing actually will work. I'm not going to run a load through it, I'm just going to turn it on. That should be the last. Alright. Actually, I'm going to tighten this down. I know what I'm talking about. I'm just going to tighten them down. Tighten them down now. That way I won't forget later. So you can see good, bad, and ugly. How long it takes to wire one of these. Maybe this will inspire somebody to build one and hopefully to improve what I've done. You always want to improve. There's always room for improvement. Always room to improve. I've made several of these, and believe it or not, this one's actually better than what I've done before. And if I make another one, I'm sure it'll be better than that one. So everything's wired. Everything is wired. So let's see. I'm going to go back through. I'm going to just double check everything. Double check all the connectors. Oh, and I have to tighten down the battery switch. Definitely want to do that first, or before I turn anything on. Alright, everything's tight. Let's see if I get the right tool to turn to tighten this. I do. Oh, that's nice. Here's the socket. So another thing is I'm using a composite socket, which does lower the risk of making mistakes. If you're an idiot like me, you're never going to short out your socket. So it's always a good idea to do as many steps as you can to minimize potential issues. Especially if you're like me, you're at my level where you're just kind of messing around. It's easy to make mistakes. And just tightening down the last thing here. And we can power this up in a second. And we'll see if it works. I don't know, we'll see. Does anybody think this is actually going to boot up? Or are we going to have an Electroboom? This is going to turn into an Electroboom video. Oh, that's funny. Alright. Those are nice and tight. So I'm going to put Loctite on these later, because this video has already taken me forever to do. And of course I'm not going to put solar panels on. Well, maybe I will put solar panels on. We can test that too. Alright. That should be everything. Let's see if it turns on. Now I have a lid already made, but I want to keep the lid off for now. Let's see if this thing explodes. Switch on. Well, that's good. This came on. Let's see if the inverter comes on. The inverter came on. Let's see what our monitor says. Our monitor is working too. We have a working system. Let me grab a solar panel. It's still early in the morning, so this solar panel might not produce a lot of energy. But let's just hook it up. Alright. There. We have a complete system. Solar panel. Inverter. Oh, now that I look at it, this thing's crooked. I'll probably fix that in a little bit. But that's it. I don't know how long that took, but there you go. A completely built system. If anyone wants to hang out, I'm going to go grab something and we're going to actually test to make sure a load comes through. Alright, and I'm going to overlay the Bluetooth, because this is Bluetooth, so I'll overlay the Bluetooth so you can see that it's working, although, there you go. And not much solar energy is coming in because it's still early and it's just at a weird angle here. But there we go. We have a completely built, homemade power station. 100%. Every step. If anybody has any questions, I know I'm going to get comments. Love to hear them. Please leave them below. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. I had a lot of fun with this. And I'll talk to everyone later.